for his great love, for his great loyalty, which he had loved us. Why is he loyal? Because he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, remember? Even when we were dead through our trespasses, made us alive together with Messiah. By grace you have been saved. And raised us up with him and made us to sit with him in the heavenly places in Messiah Yeshua. That's an inheritance, isn't it? That in the ages to come he may show the exceedingly riches of his grace in kindness towards us in Messiah Yeshua. For by grace you have been saved through faith. Not of yourself. It is a gift. So you've been, salvation is a gift. And a gift cannot be taken away, right? But you can be judged if you disobey the covenant. The gift is always going to be for you. The only time that you are never going to be forgiven is when you do a willful, rebellious sin, according to Hebrews chapters 10, verse 26. For those who have heard the knowledge of the truth, and now they turn, there's no longer. If you willfully sin, continually sin after the knowledge of the truth, there's no longer remains sacrifice for sin. Willful rebellion, that is a no-no. That is like a sin against God. You're done. You know? So now...
So, you're not receiving the gift. If you're willfully rebelling against God, you're not receiving God's gift.
Even though the gift is for you and for your descendants, but you will not receive it.
Right. If you won't receive it, then it is of no benefit for you.
Right. If you willfully rebel, okay. So let's do this. You have children, and you have a farm, but they refuse to obey you, willfully, rebelliously. They're your kids, but you said, get out. And then he tells you, I don't want to be your son, and I don't want your inheritance. Guess what? He just forfeited his inheritance. Legally, you don't have to honor that. You don't have to. You choose to extend mercy. If he comes back repentance, you says, you are my son, and I am your father. That's why the language that Paul uses is, you are the sons of the living God. So now he gives us an inheritance, right? He says, for we are all his workmanship, created in Messiah, Yeshua, for good works, which Elohim prepared before we will walk in them. Therefore remember that once you, the Gentiles in the flesh, it's done in the past tense, once you, it says, who are called uncircumcision for what is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that you were at that time, were from Messiah, separated from Messiah, read it with me, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope without Elohim in the world. But now in Messiah, Yeshua, you who were once far off have been made near by the blood of Messiah. So what does the word commonwealth of Israel say here? Does it say spiritual Israel anywhere? No. The word there, commonwealth, is politie. Means, read it with me. Citizen. Concretely, a community, commonwealth, freedom. So the moment you accepted Yeshua, you made the oath, you were baptized, you were sealed, guess what? You are now Israel. You want to be Israel?
Yes.
Welcome to the kingdom. But with that being said, now the responsibility is greater. Yeah. Don't come to my Father's kingdom and then pretend that you're going to determine policy. Don't come to my Father's kingdom and then you're going to pretend to tell my king what to do and when to do it. First, when you pray in a manner of respect. You do not claim and you don't demand when we don't obey. Because you will not allow your children to claim anything and demand anything if they don't obey you. So if you don't let your children claim and demand a blessing when they willfully disobey you, then what rights do you have to claim and demand anything from my king when we don't even obey the most basic rules of law?
That's right. Amen.
You want to be Israel? If you want to be Israel, you keep the Sabbath. You want to be Israel? You want to keep the feast. Why? Because the Sabbath represents the ownership of Yahweh of the earth and represents that he is king and sovereign. You want to keep the feast? Keep the feast. You know why? Because you got to pay tribute to your king. That's the time that you meet with your king to pay tribute. Don't come with empty hands because he's provided a job for you to do something. You want to be obeyed? You want the blessings? Then keep the commandments so you will get blessed. Don't be rebelling and then expect the Lord to give you a quick fix for a long-term problem. This is not 7-Eleven. This is a kingdom with laws. You break the law, based on the penalty of the crime, you receive the punishment. My king deserves to be respected. My king deserves to be revered. My king deserves to be uplifted. My king's name deserves to be put up in the place where my king deserves to be put up. It's time that you start acting like a kingdom. Stop acting the way you want to act, because the kingdom does not belong to you.
Amen.
If you don't like it, then get out. This is not the point for rebellion. You have been given redemption freely. You have been given the promise of salvation freely. You have been given the blessing. The only thing you got to do is just obey the most minimal thing. 4 million laws in this country, and there's only 613 laws in the Bible. And by the way, half of them you could only keep if you live in the land. Over 4 million laws in this country, and you call yourself free? But then when we tell you follow the Torah, you say we don't want to come under the law. You are under the law in this country.
Yes, we are.
I think I made my point.
Yeah, less laws, more bondage, right?
Yeah. You know, Yeshua could only keep the commandments that apply to him. Let me make a shocking statement. You know that Yeshua could not keep all the laws? He couldn't keep them all. You know, he wasn't a woman. He wasn't doing the role of the priest on the earth.
Right?
He didn't own land.
He wasn't a soldier.
He wasn't a soldier.
Right?
So he kept all the ones that applied to him. Do you know that the moment that I get to Israel, the moment I land, there are certain laws that immediately get activated? Because I'm in the land, in my inheritance. It's like, let me give you the example. If you travel to England or South Africa or Australia, American law doesn't apply anymore because you're in another country.
Right?
There are only certain laws that you can keep based on the knowledge of the laws of those countries. Right? So are you under American sovereignty when you're in another country? No. You are a guest in somebody else's country. You better walk according to you better learn. You better know which side of the street you're going to drive in South Africa, if not you're going to get into an accident. You know? You understand? Mm-hmm. But the moment you get on that plane and you come over and you land in America and they stamp your passport, now all the laws of the United States that apply to you are binding. But if you do not own land, if you only rent and you do not own a house, if you don't, not a lawyer, if you're not a politician, if you're not any of those laws, if you don't have a business, you don't have to worry about those. So that means that the more you grow, the more responsibility, the more accountability you need to have. Mm-hmm. So if that is true, then when you come to the gospel, the Father's not going to give you all the laws for you to keep when you don't even know how to keep the most basic ones. Mm-hmm. When you're becoming a citizen, don't they teach you the most basic ones? These are the rules of conduct in America until you learn the other ones. So the process of conversion in this country or citizenship is 2 years. You got to learn the history, you got to learn the Bill of Rights, you got to learn the Constitution, you got to learn everything, learn the language, and then you got to do a process of interviewing. You got to prove that you're here for the goodwill of your intentions, not because you're marrying somebody in order for you to become a citizen to get the benefits without really loving the country. Get it? Exactly. The Jerusalem Council was exactly that. Paul, you're teaching the Gentiles? What right do you have? Let's establish a legal precedent here. So now Peter stands up. He says, remember that a long time ago, guys, the Lord revealed to me that he shows no partiality. That Cornelius, remember Cornelius? The Spirit came down on him. And they go, oh, we forgot. That's right. Paul, dude, go ahead, man. Here's a letter. Look, guys, look, listen. Don't believe anything I say. Go back and look it up. But I think today we gave you a lot of information about the legality of the Bible. And I pray that it's edifying to you. I'm here not to show you how much I know. I'm showing to encourage you. If anybody walks through that door and says, the Torah is not for you, you said, get out. You don't have the legal jurisdiction to determine that policy. Because Yeshua said otherwise. Yes, sir.
What was your answer to the levity?
Which one?
The question was, do you have a response or answer as to why, when they say we're not obligated in the Torah, how do you respond? You said you had a verse for them, because you never gave a verse.
Yeah, Ezekiel 47, verse 21 to 23. We are going to have an inheritance in the land. Listen, Ruth, I want your God to be my God, your people my people. Where you go, I will go. That's a declaration.
Can I add 2 verses to that?
No, man. Can't do it. Yeah, come on.
The Navi Zechariah says this in chapter 2, verse 10. Shout and be glad, O daughter of Zion, for I am coming, and I will live among you, declares Hashem. Many nations will be joined to me in that day and will become my people.
Oh, and you go, my people, that's language of adoption. Thank you so much. Zechariah 2:10, right?
Right.
I got to remember that one.
And then from the Torah,
Uh-huh.
in Vayikra 18, verse 5, verse 4. You must obey my laws and be careful to follow my decrees. I am Hashem, your Elohim. Keep my decrees and laws, for the man who obeys them will live by them.
Exactly.
Now, Rabbi Meir makes a comment in the Tanakh, in the Talmud. He says, here it says, any man who obeys shall live. It does not say Israel.
That's true.
It does not say Yehuda. It does not say Abraham, Yaakov. It does not say. It says any man.
Any man. Just like Isaiah 56. Those who keep the Sabbath.
Any man.
Any man.
Amen.
Because guess what? He has to bring reconciliation to all of humanity, right? He just chose Israel to do one thing, to be the light unto the world, to show the sovereignty of Yahweh.
Right.
Listen, I pray today has been a blessing to you. I'm very grateful that you stayed. And I pray that I give you my best. I'm getting tired with my voice. But, you know, I'm going to set up right now. Please stick around. Maybe you'll see something that you may want to get. And I want to thank you. Guys, thank you so much for having me, Jay. And I want to thank every single one of you for being here. I don't take your dedication, I mean, I don't take it lightly. I recognize you spending the whole day with me. And I pray that we can be edifying each other for many, many more years to come.
Amen.
But remember, your job is to pray for me and keep me accountable too, okay? Do it in a loving way. Don't be so judgmental if I say something you don't want to hear. You know, don't be throwing me out to the dogs when you don't agree with me one time. Allow me the opportunity to state my case. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Thank you for being here today. Shalom.